This presentation will be looking at the spine of the scapula. My name is Nicola Morpeth and I welcome you on this journey exploring its location, functions and its relationship to neighbouring anatomical structures and muscles. Here we have a posterior view of the scapula. The spine of the scapula is highlighted on the right image and is intermediate to the medial and lateral borders of the scapula. It is a protruding, bony landmark located on the posterior aspect of the scapula. It runs transversely across the superior aspect of the scapula from the medial ridge or border, which is highlighted in the left image, to the acromion process. The acromion process is found at the lateral end of the spine. The spine of the scapula has an upper or superior surface and a lower or inferior surface. This image shows the spine of the scapula in relation to the scapula itself from a lateral, anterior and posterior view. Additionally, the top left image shows where the scapula and its spine is situated in the posterior aspect of the shoulder girdle within the appendicular skeleton. Situated approximately 2 to 3 inches on either side of the spinous processes of the vertebrae, the scapula articulates with the acromial end of the clavicle, the head of the humerus, and has a pseudo-articulation with the thorax. The scapula covers ribs 2 to 7. The spine of the scapula is a prominent bony landmark that forms a continuous arch with the acromion process. The outline of its ridges upon the skin make it easy to locate, and its most medial border aligns with the spinous process T3. One of the functions of the spine is to divide the posterior body of the scapula into unequal superior and inferior sections. As you can see from this image, the spine of the scapula separates the supraspinous fossa from the infraspinous fossa. The pink area shows the supraspinous fossa, which is superior to the spine. The orange area shows the infraspinous fossa, which is inferior to the spine. These fossae act as attachment points for the muscles supraspinatus and infraspinatus. While we are looking at this slide, I will just point out some other neighbouring structures to the spine of the scapula. The coracoid process, highlighted in red, is anterior to the spine and lateral to the acromion process. The acromion process, in green, is an extension of the spine. It is a bony projection found at the lateral end, distinguishing the highest point of the shoulder. The glenoid fossa is lateral and slightly anterior to the spine of the scapula. The superior angle, which is the highest point of the scapula, is superior to the spine, and the inferior angle, which is the lowest point of the scapula, is inferior to the spine. This image shows some surrounding muscles of the scapula. The trapezius muscle and deltoid muscle are of particular interest as the spine of the scapula serves as an insertion point for the middle and lower fibres of the trapezius and as an origin attachment point for the posterior deltoid muscle. Additionally, rhomboids major and minor and the levator scapula also surround the spine of the scapula. The trapezius muscle is a very large muscle and covers a significant amount of the upper back. The image on the left shows the middle fibres of the trapezius. The middle fibres are the most superficial and have an origin along the spinous processes of the vertebrae from approximately C7 and an insertion point on the acromion process and the spine of the scapula. The actions of the middle fibres include retraction and adduction of the scapula. The image on the right shows the lower fibres of the trapezius. They have an origin along the spinous processes of the thoracic vertebrae and an insertion point on the root of the spine or medial part of the spine of the scapula. The action of the lower fibres is to depress the scapula. They also assist the upper fibres to upwardly rotate the scapula. This image shows the lateral view of the deltoid muscle displaying all three fibre segments. The triangle-shaped deltoid has an origin identical to the insertion of the trapezius. This includes the lateral third of the clavicle, the acromion process, and the spine of the scapula. The insertion of the deltoid is the deltoid tuberosity of the humerus, and the main action of all fibres is to abduct the humerus. The deltoid is an extremely important muscle and is virtually used in all movements that involve the shoulder. The rhomboid major and minor muscles are medial to the spine of the scapula. They originate from upper cervical and thoracic vertebrae and insert onto the root or medial border of the spine of the scapula and the inferior angle of the scapula. The levator scapular muscle also originates from the upper vertebrae and inserts onto the superior aspect of the medial border of the spine of the scapula. The levator scapula is superior to the medial part of the spine. Thank you for exploring the spine of the scapula with me today.